Hello, I'm Professor Peraza, and today's lecture video covers food safety. We will be discussing the definitions of genetically modified foods, what organic means, pesticide usage in the food supply, and principles of food safety. This module meets the following objectives. This module also meets the following course learning objective. For this lecture, these two free textbooks are your primary reference materials. More information, including page numbers for readings, can be found in the Canvas course space for this module. We are going to review some definitions for different farming practices, including conventional and organic. Then we're going to look at pros and cons for these practices. First, let's cover what conventional farming is. The USDA defines this as the use of seeds that have been genetically altered using a variety of traditional breeding methods, excluding biotechnology, and are not certified as organic. Some of the conventional methods have been used for years and can help to increase farm yields, develop plants with faster growth, and also produce larger seeds or sweeter fruit. Conventional farming methods can include synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, and genetically modified corn and soybeans. Let's review genetically modified organisms. A GMO is any plant, animal, or microorganism that has had its genetic material, DNA, changed using technology that generally involves the specific modification of DNA, including the transfer of specific DNA from one organism to another. Scientists often refer to this process as genetic engineering. GMO foods have been available to consumers since the early 1990s. While genetic engineering is the term typically used by scientists, you will see bioengineered label on some of the foods we eat in the United States because of the National Bioengineered Food Disclosure Standard. The standard defines bioengineered foods as those that contain detectable genetic material that has been modified through certain lab techniques and cannot be created through conventional breeding or found in nature. The Agricultural Marketing Service, AMS, developed the list of bioengineered foods to identify the crops or foods that are available in a bioengineered form throughout the world and for which regulated entities must maintain records. This includes alfalfa, Arctic apples, canola, corn, cotton, eggplant, papaya, pink flesh pineapple, potato, aqua advantage salmon, soybean, summer squash, sugar beet, and sugar cane. The list of bioengineered foods includes a PDF for each, noting the trait, producing countries, trade names, and FDA review. For example, bioengineered apples are non-browning, produced in the US, approved for production in Canada. The trade names for these apples is Arctic, Golden Delicious, Granny Smith, and Fiji. Only a few types of GMO crops are grown in the US, but some of these GMOs make up a large percentage of the crops grown. For example, soybeans, corn, sugar beets, canola, and cotton. Most GMO crops are used in food for animals like cows, chickens, and fish. They also are used to make ingredients that are then used in food products like cereals, snack chips, vegetable oils. Corn is the most commonly grown crop in the US, and most of it is GMO. Most GMO corn is created to resist insect pesticides or tolerate herbicides. Let's explore why GMOs exist in our food supply. There are traditional ways to modify crops which have been used for thousands of years. Examples include crossbreeding, selective breeding, and mutation breeding. These methods can create different crops like corn varieties or a seedless watermelon. With modern technology, scientists can use genetic engineering to take just a beneficial gene, like insect resistance or drought tolerance, and transfer it into a plant. Genetically modifying a crop can lead to higher crop yields, less crop loss, longer shelf life, better appearance, better nutrition, or some combination of these traits. BT corn is a GMO corn that produces proteins that are toxic to certain insect pests, but not to humans, pets, livestock, or other animals. Most GMO corn is created to resist insect pests or tolerate herbicides. While a lot of GMO corn goes into processed foods and drinks, most of it is used to feed livestock, like cows and poultry, like chicken. Some GMO potatoes were developed to resist insect pests and disease. A GMO papaya, named the rainbow papaya, was created to resist ring spot virus. This GMO saved papaya farming on the Hawaiian Islands. GMO summer squash is resistant to some plant viruses. Squash was one of the first GMOs on the market, but it's not widely grown. GMO foods have been determined to be safe, and some of these plants have been modified to improve their nutritional value. Some GMO plants contain plant-incorporated protectants, PIPs, to make them resistant to insects, reducing the need for and use of many spray pesticides. There's a lot of information and misinformation on GMO safety. One concern being explored in research is whether GMOs can interfere with the human microbiome, potentially inducing autoimmune or metabolic diseases. While adverse events with GMOs have been reported, such as cancer, most of these studies centered on soybean and rice, and these studies were flawed in design and overall insufficient. A systematic review from Shen et al. 2022 found there's a lack of evidence on how GM foods affect humans. A comprehensive review in 2025 by Kim et al. 2026 found current evidence does not support consistent causal links between GMO consumption and cancer, reproductive toxicology, allergies, or other chronic diseases. Let's review organic farming practices. The USDA says certified organic farming practices exclude the use of irradiation, sewage sludge, synthetic fertilizer, synthetic pesticides, and biotechnology, also known as genetic engineering. USDA certified organic foods are grown and processed according to federal guidelines addressing, among many factors, soil quality, animal raising practices, pest and weed control, and use of additives. Organic agriculture relies primarily on crop rotation, nitrogen-fixing plants, and organic fertilizers to maintain soil crop yields and pest control. As for organic meat, regulations require that animals are raised in living conditions accommodating their natural behaviors, like the ability to graze on pasture, fed 100% organic and feed and forage, and not administered antibiotics or hormones. There are many reasons for someone would opt organic. We're going to review the research in 3 areas: pesticides and health, nutritional quality, and sustainability. Pesticides are used mostly in agriculture to protect plants from pests and weeds or diseases. Pesticides, some examples of pesticides include insecticides, fungicides, herbicides, and rodenticides. Research has shown that exposure to pesticides can lead to nose and throat irritation, nausea, dizziness, asthma, cancer, and reproductive health problems. It is important to note that health outcomes are determined upon the type of pesticide, duration, and route of the exposure, and the health status of the individual. An increased incidence of respiratory issues and neurodegenerative diseases was often associated with occupational exposure to pesticides. People exposed for a prolonged or high-intensity period, particularly agricultural workers, were more likely to experience long-term health effects. Outside of concerns with pesticides for humans, there are other concerns relating to contamination of the soil, water, or other vegetation. Pesticides can be toxic to birds, fish, beneficial insects, and non-target plants. Pesticides are regulated by the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA. The EPA looks at the risks associated with an individual pesticide. This assessment is ultimately a determination that there is a reasonable certainty of no harm. Before a pesticide is approved for use, the EPA sets a limit on how the pesticide can be used, how often, and the protective clothing or equipment to be used, which all contributes to protecting human health and the environment. Every 15 years, the EPA reevaluates a pesticide safety. The EPA also sets a limit on how much of the pesticide can remain in or on the food. This is referred to as pesticide tolerance in the US, but maximum residue limits, MRLs, in other countries. The residue that is left in or on produce or grains does decrease once the crop is harvested, transported, exposed to light, washed, prepared, and cooked. As a reminder, the presence of a residue doesn't mean the product is unsafe to eat. The presence of a detectable pesticide residue doesn't mean that it's at an unsafe level. USDA's Pesticide Data Program, PDP, detects residues at levels far lower than those that are considered health risks. A good resource to check out is the Pesticide Residue Calculator via Safe Fruits and Veggies. You could choose produce items and see how much you would need to consume daily in order to reach the threshold for residue safety. It is much more than you think. A significant concern associated with antibiotic use in animals is the emergence and spread of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, ARB, that harbor antibiotic traits. The release and accumulation of antibiotic residues in the environment gradually increases antibiotic concentrations, leading to persistent ecological issues that threaten human and animal health. Beyond the environmental and health concerns, growing public apprehension about antibiotic-resistant pathogens threaten consumer confidence in the safety of animal-derived foods. Globally, more antibiotics are used in animals, particularly in poultry, swine, and cattle, than in humans. Antimicrobial resistance, AMR, is the ability of microorganisms, such as bacteria, to resist the effects of antimicrobials, which are the drugs used to kill the microorganisms. When microorganisms become increasingly resistant to antimicrobial drugs, the drugs become less effective at slowing or stopping the growth of the microorganism. This makes it more difficult to treat infections in people and animals. When antimicrobials are used excessively or inappropriately, the rate of this resistance grows. The concern with the current research available on antibiotic resistance and the food supply is that there's limited reliable data about the quantity and pattern of use, so dose and frequency. The WHO recommends that farmers and the food industry stop using antibiotics routinely to promote growth and prevent disease in healthy animals. Research has shown that vitamin C, magnesium, potassium contents are higher in organic fruits and vegetables compared to conventional. A comprehensive review of the research found a significant difference was also found in the manganese content, favoring the vegetables grown in the conventional system. While nutrient content can vary via farmer and each year, there's also research that shows organic foods can contain more antioxidant phytochemicals like flavonoids, carotenoids, and anthocyanins. Furthermore, there's research from a prospective cohort study that found organic food intake was associated with a reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. Lastly, sustainability is another reason individuals may choose to go organic. The EPA states to pursue sustainability is to create and maintain the conditions under which humans and nature can exist in productive harmony to support present and future generations. Organic agricultural practices consider the effects of interventions on the agro ecosystem. One of the goals with organic agriculture is to balance pest problems with soil fertility. Organic processes are designed to grow food in an ecologically sound manner, maintain soil and water quality, reduce pollination, increase sustainability on the farm, and enable more natural animal behavior in farm animals. Let's shift gears a bit and talk about food safety. There are many methods of food preservation, which essentially helps to extend a food's shelf life. Some of the methods include dry, salt, sugar, smoke, ferment, can, sterilize, pasteurize, freeze, additives, etc. Removing water by salting, sugaring, dehydrating, or smoking prevents bacterial growth. Canning involves removing oxygen, which limits the growth of aerobic bacteria. Pasteurization destroys microbes on food by heating a high temperature for a short period of time. It's commonly used for milk and juice. Pickling, for example, is becoming a more popular method of food preservation, especially due to the emphasis on probiotics. It is important to make sure if you are pickling, you're maintaining a minimum level of acid to prevent the growth of botulinum bacteria. The National Center for Home Food Preservation is a great resource for recommendations for home food preservation methods. The Department of Health and Human Services define foodborne illnesses or food poisoning as being caused by consuming contaminated food, beverages, or water, and can be a variety of bacteria, parasites, viruses, and or toxins. There are many different foodborne diseases, and most are infections caused by bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Illness can be due to an active infection by an organism, so foodborne infection, or due to a toxin produced by an organism and ingested with food, so foodborne intoxication. Symptoms of foodborne illnesses can vary in type and severity. Common symptoms include nausea, vomiting, abdominal cramps, diarrhea, and fever. The federal government estimates that there are about 48 million cases of foodborne illnesses annually. Here are some examples of common foodborne illnesses. Clostridium botulism is the first organism, and the common name of the illness is called botulism. The onset time for signs and symptoms, which include vomiting, diarrhea, blurred vision, and muscle weakness, is 12 to 72 hours. The duration varies. Some of the sources include improperly canned items, especially home canned vegetables, fermented fish, baked potatoes in aluminum foil. Another common illness is listeriosis, which includes signs and symptoms of fever, muscle aches, nausea, and or diarrhea. Duration also varies. Sources include unpasteurized milk, soft cheeses made with unpasteurized milk, ready-to-eat deli meats. Lastly, salmonellosis, which has an onset time of 6 to 48 hours. Symptoms include diarrhea, fever, abdominal cramps, and vomiting. Duration is typically 4 to 7 days. Sources include eggs, poultry, meat, unpasteurized milk or juice, cheese, contaminated raw fruits and vegetables. While foodborne illness can affect anyone, there are individuals who are most at risk for contracting foodborne illness and having more severe symptoms that can result in hospitalization or death. Vulnerable individuals include older adults, young children, pregnant women, and those with a weakened immune system, so HIV, AIDS, diabetes, kidney disease, etc. If someone is at a higher risk of foodborne illness, it is recommended that they avoid raw or undercooked meat, poultry, or seafood, raw milk products or sprouts, raw or undercooked eggs or products that contain them, so homemade eggnog, unwashed produce, unpasteurized juices or meat spreads, and deli-style meats unless reheated. Preventing foodborne illness. Food mishandling is one major concern for foodborne illness. 4 steps that help to prevent foodborne illnesses are clean, separate, cook, and chill. Clean, wash hands and surfaces often. This means washing for at least 20 seconds with warm soapy water. Separate, don't cross-contaminate. If you're using a cutting board for raw meat, don't use the same cutting board for vegetables unless you have thoroughly washed the surface and board with hot soapy water. Cook to proper temperatures, and chill, refrigerate promptly. Bacteria grow most rapidly in the range of temperatures between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit, doubling in number in as little as 20 minutes. This range of temperatures is often called the danger zone. Never leave food out of refrigeration for over 2 hours. If the temperature is above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, food should not be left out more than 1 hour. Keep hot food hot at or above 140 degrees Fahrenheit, so place cooked food in chafing dishes, preheated steam tables, warming trays, and or slow cookers, and keep cold food cold at or below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Place foods in containers on ice. We're going to review safe cooking temperatures. When using a food thermometer, it is important to measure before removing the food from the heat. For any raw ground meats, you want to cook to minimum internal temperature of 160 degrees Fahrenheit. For red meats like beef, pork, or lamb, then you'll want to cook to 145 degrees Fahrenheit plus 3-minute rest time. Poultry is cooked to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Fish, 145 degrees Fahrenheit, and any reheated foods to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. If you are hot holding food, you can hold it at 140 degrees Fahrenheit or above. Rest time is important for certain meats because it allows the innermost parts and juices of the meats to become fully and safely cooked. One of the most common causes of foodborne illness is improper cooling of cooked foods. Bacteria can be reintroduced to food after it has been safely cooked. For this reason, leftovers must be put in shallow containers for quick cooling and refrigerated at 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below within 2 hours. Hot food can be placed directly in the refrigerator or be rapidly chilled in an ice or cold water bath before refrigerating. Food should be reheated thoroughly to an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit or until hot and steaming. In the microwave oven, cover food and rotate so it heats evenly. Leftovers can be kept in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 days or frozen 3 to 4 months. Although safe indefinitely, frozen leftovers can lose moisture and flavor when stored for longer times in the freezer. After thawing, the food should be used within 3 to 4 days or can be refrozen.